Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria Evans. I'm a science-based intuitive eating specialist helping you stop food fear, food guilt, and self-sabotage so you can eat effortlessly and feel amazing. So I'm really excited. In this video, we're going to be talking all about having no self-control around food. Now, someone had commented on a previous video asking me to make this video, and I'm more than happy to do so. So with that said, please comment below any types of videos you want me to talk about next. You can also book in a consult call with me to learn more about my 90-day program, 90 Days to Food Freedom, and you can learn more about my one-on-one coaching and if it might be a good fit for you. I also would love for you to like and subscribe because I'm dropping weekly videos, and yeah, I'd love to have you here supporting my channel. All right, so digging into this. When it comes to having no self-control, I place this into the same bucket. It's very similar to considering it as self-sabotage. And here's the thing about self-sabotage. It is self-protection from an unmet need. So there's a reason why you feel like you don't have control around food, and we're going to go through some of those reasons, then I'm going to give you some tips for it. So in my over 6 years of working with clients struggling in their relationship with food, I've identified 4 different types of restriction, which I also call 4 different types of unmet needs. So the first is mental. So really this has to do with the self-talk, the what is wrong with me, right? Telling myself I'm broken, I'm so ugly, I'm so gross, like all of that mental chatter, using polarizing language around food as well as exercising ourselves. So things like, oh, I'm so bad for eating this. I'm indulging in this. Oh, I shouldn't be having this. This is junk. This is garbage. Whatever those words are, really polarizing our foods, our body, our exercise, having to earn our right to eat. I have to burn this off. All of that I place into the camp of mental, right? So that is considered the unmet need of mental restriction. The second one is physical. So that is not eating enough food, right? So you're lacking calories, you're lacking energy, you're lacking nutrients, you're lacking something quite physical, right? This is not a mental telling myself I can't have this. This is physically your body is not getting enough of something, right? And so I consider that a physical unmet need. Now, the third one is emotional, and this is not letting yourself feel certain emotions. This is suppressing certain emotions, judging yourself for how you're feeling. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should be feeling this, right? Getting mad at yourself for not feeling a certain way, as well as using food to numb, distract, suppress, and avoid from how you're feeling. So that's the third bucket there is emotional restriction. And then the fourth one I've identified is connection. So connection, I consider a disconnection from yourself, feeling unworthy, like you need to change in order to be more perfect, you need to be better and prettier in order to be deemed worthy and all of that, in order to be lovable and feel okay about yourself. It also translates to our connection with others and our ability to connect with others and our feelings of worth around connection with others, right? And often sometimes we're eating as a way to fill that void and avoid that feeling of loneliness from that lack of connection. So that fourth bucket there is connection. So you likely won't just have one of these 4 types of restriction, but likely more a combination of them. So when it comes to self-control around food, unless we identify the unmet need or needs, we will just keep not having that self-control, right? Self-control, because we aren't meeting the need that creating that feeling of not being in control. That is what is created from. Right? If I'm never addressing what is missing, then it's just going to keep happening. And we'd be like, why do I keep doing this? That whole insanity is doing the same thing again and again, expect a different result. It's like, oh, why do I always feel out of control around food every night after dinner? And getting mad at ourselves and blaming ourselves for that, never actually looking at, what could be that unmet need that is triggering that. So we can't blame ourselves for the end result of eating the food if we never understood what initially triggered it in the first place. All right, so I'm going to talk about each and then give a mini tip. And like I said, I'm really just kind of going tip of the iceberg here. I go so much deeper into this in my work, but I do want to give you some insight as well as some actionable tools because that's the way I like to work. So the first one, mental, right? When it comes to self-talk, that is the what is wrong with me, making things off limits, all of that. Here is what I want you to say instead. So you're wanting to have a certain food, foods that you maybe feel out of control around, right? Here's what I want you to say verbatim. I give myself permission to eat X, whatever that food is. So I give myself permission to eat chocolate. Do I feel like eating this chocolate? So it would be, I give myself permission to eat blank. Do I feel like eating blank? right? We want to remove that mental restriction. We want to remove the polarizing language that we are often using and this junk food, or I'm so bad, or I'm so naughty. No, remove that restriction, remove that scarcity, replace it with permission and abundance. And in doing so, your body can start to relax, right? Oh, I don't have to I want it because I can't have it type of mentality, right? That kind of scarcity. We create this desire to have something because we've made it off limits, right? So then the second part of that is, do I feel like eating this food? Like, do I actually want it? If I remove the restriction and this making it off limits thing, do I actually want it, right? And that leaves you in a really powerful place where now it's an option. Now it's a choice. Instead of this white knuckling feeling like, oh, what if I have it, right? Now all of a sudden we're kind of shifting a perspective, right? The second piece here is physical. So as I mentioned, not eating enough food, lacking calories, energy, nutrients, all of that. So one of the things I want you to be doing, right, after you eat a meal, so for example, if you're finding that you feel out of control, lacking that self-control around food after dinner, right? So after you eat your dinner, what I want you to do is set a timer on your phone for 12 minutes, right? Here's what's going to happen in that 12 minutes. Your stomach is going to feel those feelings of fullness, that dopamine, that excitement, that desire to get that kind of reward of the food is going to start to die down, right? And then from there, you're going to have that space to decide if you actually want more food. So with that, our stomach is feeling the feelings of fullness, right? Dopamine has wound down. We've created that space, that opportunity. We're getting back into that prefrontal cortex, a part of our brain that can decide future, rational, goal setting, that kind of part of our brain that can better able rationally decide if we want more food, right? So, and if we do, right, this is not an opportunity for us to restrict ourselves. And I also advise you to check in on where you're at on the hunger and fullness scale. I have a whole bunch of iPhone wallpapers, cute little ones I made up on Canva. So if you want one of those iPhone wallpapers that, goes through the intuitive eating hunger and fullness scale, just send me a DM on Instagram and I will send it to you. You don't have to sign up for anything. I'll just send it to you. And yeah, so it's at Victoria Evans Official. If you're curious to know what that looks like, I will send it to you. So the 12 minutes goes off, right? The timer, check in with yourself. Are you on the hunger and fullness scale? And then if you want to get more food, don't get more food and just restart that cycle, right? Set a new timer. Because a lot of the time, that feeling of not being in control around food is because we've created that scarcity and we've made it off limits, and we've not let we've not let our brain actually register the feelings of fullness. And we've not created that space to truly decide with intention whether or not we actually want more food, right? So having that food and then setting that timer on our phone, right? Giving ourselves that space, that opportunity to kind of check in, see where we're at in the hunger and fullness scale, and eat more if needed, right? It's not about restriction. This is rather about creating that space, that opportunity for us to check in and decide, do we truly want a little bit more? And with that, when it comes to physical, making sure you're eating enough throughout the day, right? I see so many people, they're like, it's a mystery that I'm out of control around food. And I'm like, okay, what are you eating? And like, oh, well, for breakfast, I just have a piece of toast and some coffee, or maybe even no toast. And anyways, all that's to say, they basically describe a day of eating. I'm like, that is not enough. And they go to a workout, they're walking around, they're doing all these things, they're chasing their kids around. You do not have enough energy in your body. Of course, you're going to feel like you don't have self-control around food because you're not getting enough energy into your body. So really take an audit of your day and be radically honest with yourself. Are you getting enough energy? Are you trying to compensate? Are you trying to eat as little as you can? Right? And that is probably what is causing those feelings of being out of control around food, not having that self-control. So, we can set all the timers in the world, but if we're ultimately not getting enough nutrients and energy into our body has the right to send us into that kind of binge eating, overeating response and feeling like kind of not super in control, because that is a survival technique that you've kind of kicked on, right? That gene has been, it's been flicked on essentially, to make sure that you're getting enough energy and nutrients to stay alive. So being super radically honest with yourself about that. The third one is emotional, right? So if we're not letting ourselves feel certain emotions, or if we're judging ourselves for how we're feeling, we're using foods that way to numb or suppress or distract or avoid. Again, I go so much deeper into this in my work because this could be its own multiple hour video in terms of emotions. One of the things I advise you to do is set phone check-ins for yourself. You might notice I like using the phone because it's something we always have on us. So I like my tools to be very practical. So when it comes to having these phone check-ins, I want you to almost imagine throughout the day, each thing that happens, you're being tossed a bowling pin and you're a juggler. So you're, first thing in the morning, you check your emails, you're being tossed some kind of stressful event, you're juggling that. And then something else gets tossed to you and you're juggling that, right? And then, throughout the day, you keep getting more and more and more things thrown to you and you're juggling them, right? And there are like a bajillion things up in the air. And then you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh my gosh, I have so many things that are going in the air right now. It's just so overwhelming. I can't deal with this. And you just kind of let it all fall to the ground because you've gone the other way and gotten something to eat, right? You didn't have the capacity to deal with and process those emotions, whether it be because you've never learned how to, which is super common, or you didn't create the capacity, the time and space to do so. So one of the things I like to do with clients is having these little check-ins throughout the day, right? So that each time we're being tossed something of how this happened or what happened there, or this email or this conversation or a disappointment or expectation not met or whatever those things are, right? We're looking at it and then we're setting it down. We're looking at it, we're setting it down. We're doing these little micro processing throughout the day instead of the end of the day being so overwhelmed that we can't deal with any of it. So these little mini phone check-ins, asking yourself, hand on heart, how am I feeling really? How am I truly feeling right now? Taking a minute, giving yourself permission to feel that, right? And then at the end of the day, it doesn't become this like built up, overwhelming thing. The fourth piece here is connection. So if we're feeling disconnected from ourselves, feeling unworthy, like we need to be more perfect or better in order to be lovable and worthy, feel okay about ourselves. And that also translates, like I said, in terms of how we connect with others or don't connect with others, right? And we can be eating as a way to fill that void, that lack of connection, and to avoid those feelings of loneliness. And so humans are a social species, so we need to really fill our connection cup. So are you lonely, right? For me, that was a huge piece of it. I was really lonely, and food was that friend and enemy at many times, right? But that made me feel safe. That made me feel less lonely and less hurt, that I didn't necessarily feel very connected to myself or others. So your assignment, if you choose to accept it, is to create more connection opportunities, right? Fill that connection cup. Are there any meetups going around, like that meetup app? That's great. So any online workshops or workshops in persons, women's nights, Facebook groups in your area, women's groups. I used to run women's groups online to have check-ins and see what people are doing. And we do journaling and, a whole bunch of stuff like that, right? Or maybe it's like you're joining a book club or like paint and sip night at your house, or, really looking into what are some opportunities for you to fill that connection cup, that truly fill it up. Because if we're just going to work or we're working from home or just on screens, that we don't really truly have time to connect with others or with ourselves, right? Food can often be that way, that we attempt to fill that void and attempt to deal with that loneliness that we're not truly dealing with. Try that. I would say, your goal, your mission is to do some research and then attend at least one connection cup filling event in the next 7 days if you can, right? And then see if you like it. If not, try something different. But really start to put yourself out there, really connect yourself to the world and to yourself. And I promise that's going to make a really big difference. All right, so those are my 4 different pillars. I have 4 different types of restrictions. And like I said, there's so much more to this. So I invite you to book a consult call using the link in the description box below, as well as in the first comment. And I'm more than happy, and I'd love to hop on a call with you, learn more about you, how I can best support you, and see if you're a good fit for my one-on-one coaching program. I'd also love for you to like and subscribe, as well as comment below what type of video you'd like me to make next, and I will make that for you to support you. All right, thank you so much for watching. I'm dropping YouTube videos every single week. So if you're liking these videos, if you're liking this content, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you here next week.